Hey there, everyone. We just wanted to start out this episode by saying thank you so much for all of the love you gave us in last week's video where we put this big transom on, which was a huge feat. Lots of comments, lots of likes.
Most of the love was for Bert and Ryan, but they deserved it. They were all
absolutely
stars.
Deserve all the love. They're
and Jessica,
stars.
Of course, climbing into this area.
Which is kind of what we wanted to talk about as well right at the beginning, because a lot of you had questions about me sliding into this area that is only, yay big, and wondering why there wasn't a hatch cut in there that I could just easily climb in and out of. So I will let Matt answer that.
Perfect. Reason for that is because we had two different pieces where we had the bulkhead that we had to manually put into place or fit into place, and then we had the skirt of fiberglass which is that back part of that transom, the vertical part of the transom, had to go over the top of that. In doing so, it was very difficult to be sure that we were getting proper alignment with that. Had we cut out a hatch opening through the bulkhead and measured and tried cutting a hatch opening in that skirt before we actually bonded it together, odds of us actually getting it to be perfectly aligned was not going to happen.
It was much easier to send me down.
So much easier to send her down. And now that we have these completely permanently bonded together, now it's just one cut to cut out that hatch in that vertical section, and we know that everything's aligned. It's going to be much easier to finish that off and create what we're looking for.
And for anyone thinking about doing this in the future, they have changed the way they do it at the Max Cruise factories so that the aft bulkhead is attached now to the back area.
Yep. So no one else is going to have that thin skirt of fiberglass like what we have. It's a different procedure. Just being number one again, that is one of those things it's one of those things that we kind of figured out and went, well, there's a better solution, a better way of doing that, and they have changed that for anyone else that's doing this in the future. They will be able to put that hatch in and not have to climb through like Jess did.
So hopefully that answers your questions about last week's episode. And again, thank you so much for all of the comments and the likes. It means so much when we hear back from you. So thank you again on that, and we hope you enjoy this episode.
After 8 years of the nomadic life, involving crossing oceans in a 34-foot Sabre, refitting an aluminum boat, and then taking that to the Arctic Circle, we're back at it again with a brand new build. This is Matt, and I'm Jessica. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and join us every week as we start our newest project of building a 42-foot catamaran from the ground up.
Well, this has just worked out awesome. The guys are in there sanding right now, and it's giving me a little bit of free time to go and tackle some of the other things that haven't done. And one of those is our water tanks. We need to get that done before we put the deck on, and with them sanding, we are getting closer and closer to that time. So we figured out roughly what size is going to work well for us. They're going to go on the bridge deck. We're going to have two separate tanks. Each one of those is going to be about 62 gallons, 61.98 gallons. And they're going to be built out of our foam composite with a baffle in there as well, made out of the foam composite. And then we will be coating those with a FDA-approved potable water epoxy to seal them up so we are nice and safe. And here are our big long sheets of extra foam cord composite panel that they sent over in our first container. We're going to use it to build out some of our furniture things that we're going to do custom design with. But one of those is going to be partially used for the water tank as well. So this will make up one wall. The other big wall is going to be where bulkhead 5 is. That's our mast support there. And then two of the sides are the webs that we installed in a previous episode. So what we'll do is we'll measure it out, cut this out, and then we should just be able to tab it and glass it into place.
All right, so this is a pretty square edge. We'll trim it up later, but
We'll do a rough cut right now then, I guess. So I'll add an extra 10 millimeters.
that same 110, 1, 2, 3.
With the pieces of foam core now cut to size, Matt went within the webbing to measure out where they would sit and mark those spots to prepare them for bonding and glassing. To give the foam a good initial bond to our bridge deck, Matt went through with our thickened resin to lay a bead on the deck and the sides of the webbing. We'd eventually go back and add a cove or fillet before glassing, but this would help keep it secure in its proper place. Halfway across the tank, we were adding another piece of foam, acting as a baffle. This is to help separate the water tanks enough that we don't have water constantly sloshing around, especially while underway, but does allow water to flow through at the bottom from one side to the other. Before adding it into the water tank, Matt had cut the edges and used a 6-ounce cloth to fiberglass over the exposed foam. This is a portion of the project we needed to complete before the decks go on, but we'll make sure to fill you in more as we go further along with it.
Now that Black Friday and Cyber Monday are over, does not mean there are no more deals to be had this year for holiday shopping. We told you that we'd get back to you about our new Jackery Solar Generator 1500, and the good news is that Jackery is having a Christmas special from December 6th through the 10th, including 15% off this beauty here. With over 1,500 watt hours, it should easily be able to get us through a power outage while still continuing our work. Powering 99% of devices and appliances, we thought we'd put it to the test. Being able to power 7 devices simultaneously, we can keep the work flowing all day long, especially with the help of our 4 100-watt solar panels. So, based on what we've put it through so far, this generator really stands up to the test, and we cannot wait to try out on other fun adventures in the future. We have all of the information, including the links, in our description box below, so make sure to go ahead and check that out.
Hey, Matt? Matt, you can stop now.
It doesn't work. It's too tall.
I figured you're gonna have to go around the front door. Wah, wah.
on video. Yeah. Do we want to carry it like this, or do we want to flip it upright again?
Lay it down.
All right.
Come on, you guys. Matt and I could do this ourselves.
3 people, but I think the combined brain power is less than both of you. Individually.
Yes, we need the front door open.
Oh, God. Go team. Keep up the good work. Go team.
Okay, Jess.
First part, ready? Just gotta rotate.
All right, what am I doing?
Just making sure.
You guys are gonna have to, once you get there, like tip it sideways because you're gonna hit the.
We have to go more horizontal.
Yeah, a little bit more.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So another piece. And now it's the. Oh, we get it up there.
Beetlejuice.
No, that was Candyman. He actually had peas in him. He was peas. Oh, there goes that edge. Go, Coop.
I'm in the wolf. I'm in the wolf. I'm in the wolf.
All right.
A little bit higher.
Get that edge. Yeah.
Man, we're like pros now.
You need 10 more of these.
Okay. And then let's get in position to get it up on deck.
The great part is this is the one that I thought Jess and I were actually going to go do by ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This can be a bit different. Yeah, actually just pull it and set it down, like just where your foot is, and hold it right there. Can you guys hold that?
Yeah.
Jess, you got it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this one's easier. Okay. Nope. No, thank you, everyone.
Thank you guys. We'll call you when the rest of the stuff goes in.
Okay.
Don't scratch the gel coat.
Probably makes more sense to do it on this side.
Oh yeah.
Cut the non-gel coat side. It's got to be prepped to be less than anyway. Ooh, look at that.
Ooh.
Where my
Shiny
butt's gonna be.
cockpit seats. With a little mini fridge underneath full of beer.
Oh man. Oh, that's pretty.
And this is our starboard cockpit seat.
Keep walking back. Okay, so I need to measure up from that corner. That corner's going to stay the same. Measure up here, then across and down. So if you notice, one of the things that's different with this mold is the height of this back section. We saw the preliminary, kind of the basic molds that they pulled out for the first round of these seats, and it was raised up quite a bit higher along the back edge. Fine, it's really nice if you're going with the aft helm setup with the steering wheels back here. It gives you a little bit more height with that. It's actually a pretty good setup for that. But we really wanted to be able to sit here and take in all the views from side to side. So we had them remold it shorter for us, and that was fine, but they'd already done the transom section at that point. So unfortunately, the transom section is molded for a higher height. We're just going to cut that down, and then we will glass. It's going to be a little bit more blending that's required in this one, but that's not a huge problem because it gives us exactly what we want, which is going to be that view. When we're sitting in the cockpit, there's nothing obstructing that at all. This is going to go 5584. All right, so hold that taut at, oh, let's put it right there.
Okay, hold
Got
it
it.
top there.
And 4, right here. Measure from edge to edge. Make sure that, what does it show me? All right, so we're gonna go through and double check these numbers just to make sure.
Okay.
And then what I'll do is I'll cut, and we'll end up glassing that eventually and all that kind of stuff. But again, it'll be glass from both sides. It'll be bonded, and we'll actually run a piece of glass from this side and fair that all together. But that gives us, I mean, you see how much that we drop down in height there. Totally worth the effort.
All right. Measurements have been double checked. Our final line is drawn. And Matt's getting ready to grind it off.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily even need to try to create a flange, because I'm going to cut back this anyway and glass this whole thing.
she goes. Now it's sliding behind there here.
Okay, so we got basically the right. And that will go so it gets twisted that way more.
Alright, so we're getting a little closer now after the trims that Matt made to make this flush. But the back there, you can tell that we still need to come forward, but it's not allowing us because that should be lining up here. So a little bit more needs to get trimmed off, but we're getting closer.
This is roughly our cockpit size now, so you can kind of get an idea. This is not totally in place. We're still waiting to hear back. It is 3 o'clock in the morning in Vietnam right now, so we're probably not going to get a response until, well, our evening. As to exactly what we do with this corner, we think we know, but before we just
Start chopping things off.
chopping into it, we might as well get a full response from them. But this gives you an idea of what our cockpit's going to look like. Seating over here, raised helm position. So there's a setup that, like, how we get up to the raised helm area. Seating along there, seating obviously along here.
Go back up, so yep, there you can see the beginning of the space.
Look how much room we have. I can play soccer in here.
Football. I know, it's starting to shape up. And then once these are in, we can get the deck sides in. And that will be quite the change.
Give me your freedom. Whoa, yeah, to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium. Life is so easy. Whoa, you love me to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium.